Welcome to tonight's school committee meeting. We're going to start with a short executive session. Jen, could you do the motion for executive session?
Okay.
Or traditionally, I'll do it as chair.
Okay.
Like a motion to move to executive session for the purpose to discuss collective bargaining with the intention to return to open session.
Second.
This requires a roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. With that, we'll move into executive session and we'll return approximately a half an hour. Welcome, everybody. Thank you. We ran just a few minutes late in the executive session. We're now opening the open session for tonight's school committee meeting. I see that we have audience tonight. Track team, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda of the minutes from February 7th and the oath payroll and bills?
You're gonna say?
What was it? I mean, you got it?
Sorry. Okay, I make a motion to accept the consent agenda from the minutes of February 7th and oath the bills and payroll.
A second.
All opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. At this time, we will take any interested citizens that'd like to bring any issue that they have before the school committee tonight. Seeing none, we'll also have a second opportunity towards the end of the meeting tonight. Let's see, we're going to start off with a presentation on the state championship plaque presentation. Mike?
Well, we're back again.
And we're pleased.
Doesn't look like we have everybody here, but we'll take care of who's here. And just want to thank you again for inviting us and having us here, and obviously to celebrate the accomplishments. This particular group of kids, student athletes that have come through, have had truly unprecedented success in cross-country, indoor track, and outdoor track. And so much so, the street signs as you enter town, I'm going to have to reconfigure those or recycle the ones we have because we can't add, the DPW won't let us add because there's some sort of code that the signs can't go lower than where they already are. So we would add 2 more, but I can't. So I have to reconfigure it, and I'll figure that out in time. So if anybody's wondering why hasn't cross-country been added and why hasn't indoor track, I'm working on it. So we're going to have to figure that out. Are any of the coaches here? No. Okay. All right. So coaches aren't here. So I'm just going to go through the student athletes, and if for the student athletes that are here, if they come up and receive their plaque, that would be great. Starting with Mackenzie Clark. She's late? Okay, well, hopefully she gets here during time, but I see Riley here, so Riley Clark. Here she is. Mackenzie, congratulations, there you go. Second state championship since you've been at Littleton.
Send them up here.
Yeah, we'll go ahead up there once we
Take a picture when we're done.
get her. Riley Clark. Kenzie and Riley moved into town just at the right time for us and them. Ella Heitmeyer?
She's not here tonight.
Not here tonight? Okay. Hannah Jane? Giselle Kiernan? Okay. How about Madeline Kiernan? No, Kiernan's not here. Callie Morvay? Congratulations. Amy Crew?
She also can't make it.
Can't make it. Abby Rose Reed? Shay Regan? Casey Ricard? Just the two girls I'm going to announce next have had such an incredible career at Littleton High School. They have one season left to go. They are a combination of, I've had a chance to observe these kids, talent, intellect, and drive. I'm trying to picture what it's like when you're a senior year, you go on visits to Harvard, Dartmouth, and Cornell, and you literally have your choice of one of those three. And there were other schools too. I remember talking to them at that point, and they liked Cornell the best out of their options. So pretty good options to have, probably almost unprecedented options, I think. They've been a part of 4 state championship teams, and together the two of them have won 16 divisional state champions. They've been individual state champions 16 times in the divisional level, 3 all-state champions, and 1 New England champion. So they've had quite a career, and they have a spring season left, and we will miss them. Caitlin and Sarah Rothman. Yeah, that's everybody for tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. And then I always give one to Dr. Clenchey. He's got a wall full of these now, and we love giving them. Here you go. All right?
Mike, you get it?
Sure.
Congratulations. Great job.
Sure. Jelly.
Squeeze in here.
Hey, here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. One more for me.
All right.
Oh, God.
All right, girls, thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Good luck at Cornell.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Clinton. Thank you.
And we lost our audience.
Yeah.
Awesome for the moment.
Got here.
Maybe we'll be back in the spring season.
It's okay. We don't need to create.
Let's see, no student report tonight?
No, she's at the high school.
Okay, no problem.
But,
Any other recognitions, Kelly?
well, yeah, on that note, it's unfortunate Creedy wasn't able to make it this evening. Creedy was honored a few weeks ago. She submitted an editorial cartoon to the New York Times newspaper, and it was published in the newspaper. Wow. How accomplished and how special to actually have a cartoon published in the New York Times. So it was actually an English 3 honors project, extra credit project. And I'm not sure how many entries they had. I'm sure hundreds. And for her to be, I believe, one of 7 that had their artwork presented in the paper is an incredible accomplishment. So congratulations to Creedy. Hopefully she'll watch the tape of this school committee meeting. If not, I will make sure that I run into her tomorrow when I'm at the high school and personally congratulate her.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah. Next item, financial update.
Yep, so there are 3 reports in the packet. The first one is on the screen. It's a year-to-date budget report. This is our standard report that we present to school committee. It's through, the title is wrong, and I apologize. It's through this is through January. The numbers are through January. I just didn't update the title. I apologize for that. No, it's It's the wrong one in the packet.
Oh, my goodness.
It's the wrong one in the packet. So I will make sure school committee gets the updated one in the packet.
Is there any anomalies or?
No,
things
so there's a
that
couple of
should be
accounts that
brought
we're
to our
watching.
attention?
So we're watching, so let me go to the next thing, then I'll get back to that. So the second page is a report on the revolving funds and the grant funds that we have. Again, this is through February, this is year-to-date through February 21st when we published it. So it shows the revolving funds, it shows the ending balances from FY18, and then it shows the activity receipts and expenditures through, in those revolving funds through February 21st for all the revolving funds. So it shows school choice, circuit breaker, it shows all the grant funds, et cetera. So again, that's for school committee information, and I can answer questions or you can get back to me with questions. The third page is a list of some of the unanticipated expenses that we've incurred this year. A lot of this, a good majority of this has been cafeteria equipment that has failed and we've had to replace or fix. At Shaker, you can see a lot of it is at Shaker Lane School. That equipment's it's 20 years old, so we certainly got our life out of it, but we have had to replace it. And these are machines, these are equipment that we have inspected every year, and there's no indication, and then they fail. And so last year we replaced one we repaired one for $1,600, and then 18 months later it's failing and it's not worth replacing. It's not worth repairing again, so we replaced it. But so that's almost $40,000, and then the superintendent doesn't even know this one yet. I just got called today. We have
surprise me on air?
We have a pump at the Shaker Lane School septic system that is failed out in the pump house, and that's almost $4,000. So that's another $4,000 that we have to come up with and deal with. So so now, Darryl, to get back to your question on the budget items. So in addition to those items, we're also watching our athletic accounts. The athletic revenues are down for some reason. The athletic gate receipts are down for some reason, either rainy days or missed competitions. So those are down a little bit. So we're watching that account. We're also watching our food service account, as we normally do. But we're looking in other areas of the budget to make up some of these differences. So we've had a relatively mild winter so far, so I think we're going to be right on as far as utilities. We're not going to over-expend our utilities lines. We're looking at some other accounts that might have some potential savings that we can then help to cover some of these expenses. So I think overall we're going to be in good shape even at the end of the year, even with some of these unanticipated expenses. But I just wanted to bring those to school committees so they were aware that we do get hit every year with some of these expenses, and we try to make up for it within the budget. So be glad to answer questions or do some research and get back to you guys.
Jen? Matt?
Great.
Just one question in terms of the approximately $40,000 of repair money. Where do we think we're going to pick that up in our budget?
So we usually, we're going to have a little bit of savings in our transportation line, in our sped transportation line, because we usually budget a little bit of contingency in case transportation can't transport somebody, we have to hire another outside company. So we're going to have a little bit of savings in there. We're going to have a little bit of savings. So far, the numbers look like we might have a little bit of savings in our tuition reimbursement line. So that'll help cover it. But we're not sure where that's going to be. I mean, right now, if we project numbers out, it looks like we might have a little bit of savings, but we're not exactly sure what else teachers might not have submitted yet. So we're hesitantly cautious on that one.
It's a little premature to identify exact lines. We have a plan, but that plan may change according to expenditures. We still have a good part of the year left.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want you to think that's what we're going to do. I mean, when we run it into a situation like this, we tag certain accounts to pay for it, but then we may be faced with an expense out of one of those accounts, and then we have to look for the money, some of the money somewhere else. So I guess all we can tell you is we've set aside this amount of money to cover it in the budget, pending no other expenditures in those areas where we pulled the money from. But if we have to pull money from one of those areas, then we'll be looking for alternate lines to make up the difference.
Yeah, I guess, again, I just put my PMBC hat on a little bit here in terms of, as we get tighter in terms of how we're managing our budget, because, we eventually squeeze out any of those opportunities to flex some monies there. Are we sort of starting to track some kind of track record of what kinds of and amounts of these types of miscellaneous expenses, so that we can maybe start thinking about putting a placeholder in the PMBC repairs budget for, anticipated but unanticipated expenses, such as, and I think we're already too late for the FY20 process
Right.
there, but for 21, if we started now and kept like a 2-year record of this, we could have maybe a case to say that there needs to be some level of contingency funds in there, so that we're not taking this out of our educational accounts
Right.
for it.
I'm all for that. I think that would be a better
Because I don't want
better way
us to
go.
end up having to short something out of, we're planning those other funds for other educational purposes there, and the town has been gracious enough to start setting aside money for, these other types of things, as other buildings experience these types of things. So-
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
It's
we
a
can do
great
that,
idea.
and we've certainly had unanticipated expenses in prior year, just not to this level. This year, it seems to be kind of a, everything's going at once kind of thing, so.
But I just wanted to make sure that we don't get in a position that we're trading off some other educational objectives in order to absorb some expense.
We're making sure that the principals have what they need.
Right. If it wasn't that case, we would be coming to you as a full committee and saying, we need some help, we need to do something different. Do we approach the PMBC and have them reallocate money to cover the costs? So we're fully aware of our options, we're just hoping we don't have to do that.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Let's see, new business, draft calendar
Calendar?
for next school year.
In your package, you have, it's hard to believe that we're looking at the 1920 school calendar already. Still trying to figure out where this year has gone. This calendar is pretty typical to other years, except every now and again we run into a situation where we're scratching our heads a bit in terms of what to do. So this year it was the December holiday break, and if you take a look at the yellow in your calendar, that indicates days off during the December break. It starts on the 23rd, and we come back on Thursday, January 2nd. So the conversation really focused around, do we have students come back and staff on the 2nd, or do we wait until the 7th, or 6th, sorry. And we decided it would be better to come back on the 2nd. We actually had a superintendent survey within the region, and all but 2 elected to adopt or recommend a calendar like the one we have for the Christmas, or not Christmas, the holiday vacation. So we feel good about that. If you look at the calendar, students start back September 4th, and we have our PD day on the 3rd with staff. The last day of school, if we do not have any snow days and our blizzard bags continue on into the next school year, would be the 18th, provided we didn't use more than 5 days for snow days. If we use the 5 days, the last day of school would be on June 25th. So I'd say a typical calendar year, with the exception of the holiday vacation. Any other questions?
Do you need a motion?
Yes, we do. I could have I'm recommending support of this calendar, and if I could have a motion from the school committee to that effect, that would be appreciated.
Make a motion to support the 2019-2020 Littleton Public Schools calendar as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a vote. All in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next,
Motion carries.
thank you. Next item on the agenda was the school committee calendar. And you'll notice in red next year's budget hearing, since our next meeting is a budget hearing. In 2020, it will be on March 19th. It's always
So
good
we
to
are-
make sure we know about that date. We try to follow a similar pattern every year for school committee meetings. We always reserve 2 days in August for a retreat. We've, more often than not, just utilized one evening, but we thought we would set 2 evenings aside just in case. Any questions about the proposed school committee meeting calendar?
I do not, does not need a motion, right?
Yeah, we typically approve that via a motion.
Okay. Can I have a motion for the school committee calendar?
Make a motion to approve the school committee calendar for the 2019-2020 school year as shown in our school committee packet.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I can't wait for anything.
No, I'm away for the retreat. I'm in San Diego.
Okay, moving right along at warp speed. We're at the second opportunity for public input, and we lost our entire public. So, seeing no one here, we'll move on to subcommittee reports. I'll open with PMBC. We met last night, and we finally got one response for the installing the track pole vault
Good.
pit and runway there. However, it's cost prohibitive because it's such a small job, and their mobilization costs are extremely high. They didn't have any other projects lined up in this area that they could maybe piggyback upon. So I know the cost estimate came in at approximately $23,000, which is much more than I think we were anticipating spending for that. My recommendation would be is we go sort of with Plan B, which is to hire a local contractor to just put the box in, and then purchase the rollout mat for it. Then, and as Coach Sauce mentioned in an email to me, we could, when the track came time to resurface the track, we could then surface that portion of the runway for it. If that seems compatible with the committee and the administration, I'll provide direction to the PMBC to execute on that plan.
What was the cost of the Plan B?
We don't have an estimate for that. The likelihood is we'll request from some of the local contractors whether they could come and do it. We'll most likely still hire the same company to oversee the work to make sure that it's done to spec on it. We're not expecting that to be a very large charge.
Probably less.
Yeah, should be
Most likely less.
should be substantially. Well, if it's not, the project will be done at that point there, because we can't exceed the fundraising abilities of the bridge there. And I think the other thing that came up at Monday's joint Board of Selectmen's Finance Committee, School Committee meeting was on just discussions about the sidewalks and curbing at the high school there. The budget holder was for sidewalks, curbing, and paving at $600,000. There was a discussion, and they're gonna split the project and just do the curbing with no paving for approximately $250,000. And Monday at the next joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen. There'll be a discussion. They'll be prioritizing all the capital projects, and we'll be looking to figure out if that project can be, where we're going to have to shift the funds for to cover that project there, because there are some safety and access issues associated with that project that may cause some discussion about how that gets prioritized.
And that would include some sidewalk replacement as well.
Sidewalk and curb.
$200,000.
The paving, there's paving included in it. The paving will be limited to just what it will take to pave in the granite, not paving the parking lot at this point.
Is that a joint meeting on Monday? Because I haven't been notified.
I don't know if it's joint with us or if it's just joint with the Finance Committee.
Okay. We've received no notice of that.
Okay. Yeah, so I was planning on attending, it probably is, on behalf of PMBC, I think I'm in town there, just to make sure I hear the discussion on the prioritization of the projects there, so.
Sounds good.
On that.
I guess, do you want to go into a 2-minute summary on where we're at with the budget? I mean, we were going to spend a good portion of this meeting talking about where we were at with the budget deliberations. And since Mike wasn't able to be here this evening, we're seriously considering having a meeting next Wednesday evening to have those deliberations prior to us presenting a final budget to you as a school committee at a public hearing at the next meeting. So we needed some time to have those conversations. Every year we obviously have to make some decisions in terms of priorities, and this year will be no different. And Daryl, do you want me to make a couple of comments, or would you?
Yeah, no, when it's...
Sure. We are approximately $204,000 in an overrun with the town, not the school department, but if we look at the town and the school budget, there's about $204,000 gap. The budget subcommittee asked us to look for ways to close the gap. We came up with $92,000 worth of savings out of the budget in a variety of areas. One area that is something I need to mention tonight. We have 2 ed assistants in our budget that we didn't fill this year. We feel we can do without them next year, as long as our population doesn't change in terms of having students come in that we're unaware of that may need services. So we've downsized by 2 ed assistants to help out with that $92,000. So now we have a gap of $114,000. We've requested that the town find a way to come up with $114,000 so we can move forward with our budget process. They can finalize theirs as well. We gave them 2 recommendations, which would require some changes of financial policy for the upcoming year. Not sure where that's going to go, but that was just a suggestion. They have many other options that they can consider. So we're anxiously awaiting for their response to us to see whether they can come up with $114,000 that we've requested, so that all town budgets are in balance, so to speak. Questions on that?
No, so was the plan to hold a meeting next Wednesday? Is that?
Yes, Mike sent out an email today and was asking if school committee members were able to attend, so I think he's just waiting for the responses, and if we have a quorum, he'll be calling a meeting next Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
Okay. I think the overall budget will also be discussed at the selectmen's meeting.
Most likely.
Like I said, I'm going to try to attend just for informational purposes.
Okay, I'll probably attend as well.
There for it, because it was a little at the finance committee meeting the other night. It was a little disappointing. No other options were presented for budget conservation. I'm not calling reductions or anything here, and it, I don't want it to be that the school committee has to shoulder the whole making up of the town's shortcoming in the overall budget there. So it probably is going to be a robust discussion over the next couple of weeks regarding that.
Well, we have to have something done by our budget hearing, because that's when we vote on our budget. So hopefully we'll have some answers before then.
Policy?
So we are on to second reading for that long list of policies. Anybody have?
I don't have any questions on them. Matt, do you have any?
I don't know.
Yeah, do you have the list in front of you, or do you want me to do the motion?
I don't have.
I can.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Pull it up. All right, make a motion for the second reading of the following revised policies. Policy BBA, BDD, BHE, CBD, CBI, CE, CH, DB, DK, DKC, EB, EBB, JICH, JHD, JLCD, KE.
Second.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Yes, that was quite a match.
Let's see, we are not going to adjourn into executive session here. We're going to be postponing that for another night there. So with that, I would...
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sure, you got that one, like, right on.